back in the Mad Dog on a Fan at 4:48, Dog. April 1965, before the 65 season began, Mel Allen was just getting ready to begin his first season without the New York Yankees, obviously being gone after the 64 season. Yogi also gone after the 64 season. Johnny Keenan, his manager. Joe Alderman, who is now a lawyer at that time, was a staff announcer at WELI 610 in New Haven. Did an interview with Mel Allen. Today he contacted Bob and he fed this interview down the line right before the season started, folks.
Spring
1965. Yep. Mel not going to be with the Yankees that year. Let's take a listen.
Mel, are you going to remain in this area even though you're going to be doing the games of the Braves?
Well, I will for the coming season in any case. I don't know what the future will hold when we get around to the 1966 negotiations. But for the present, the situation is such that I'll be able to maintain my home in this area.
Suppose when you say you don't know what the future will hold, you are a very good case in point. I suppose from the public standpoint, if anyone was considered as secure and permanent in the job, it was you with the Yankees. But things didn't work out that way, I guess.
Well, if one is philosophical, one realizes that there's nothing that is permanent. In fact, when one is born, one discovers not too long afterwards that nothing is permanent. I will say this, that the situation that took place was rather abrupt. I had no warning thereof, but my association with the organization could not have been better. But I have never believed that anything was permanent or secure. In fact, there was a writer for the New York Post, Leonard Schechter, who called me a few months ago. He said, you know, I went back to 1957 to look up an interview I did with you for the Post, a feature-type interview, not for the sports pages as such. And he said, you made a remark there then. He said, you know, people in jobs like mine hang by a string. The public doesn't think so. But those of us that are in it are aware of it. And he said, this struck me full in the face when I went back to look at it as I wrote it as you said it. So at the time that you said it, I didn't really believe it.
Well, Mel, in a situation such as this, I imagine it's true that one really finds who his friends are, who will come to your support. Has this happened to you?
Well, I've had no one, as far as I know, take advantage of this situation to get into a negative aspect. There have been more people, on the other hand, who have proven their friendship than those who have proven hail follows well met type of thing, you know.
Well, Mel, I know you've been down in spring training. Have you been at the Yankee camp? And what's the feeling there? Is there a strange feeling, or are you most welcome there?
Most welcome. In fact, the first exhibition game that I had the chance to see was between the Braves and the Yankees, and everybody greeted me warmly. And in fact, I felt quite at home. I sat on their bench long before I even walked over to the Braves bench, where I had not yet sat. And everybody was glad to see me. I saw many of the players, of course, during the winter. Some in New Hampshire, some in San Francisco, some in Columbus, Ohio. Or many of the players that, of course, were invited to appear on the banquet circuit. And they were all surprised and wondering what had happened. And I could only agree with them in one respect, that I was surprised. What had happened, I didn't know.
Well, I know you've been asked the question many times, why did it happen? Do you know?
No, I don't know. It's just the idea that people who run an organization have a right to hire or let people go as they will. It can come from many sources. I would presume this, for example. If Yogi Berra ever finds out the reason why he was dismissed, then perhaps I might find out a reason too, though ours would not be directly connected. There's so many different reasons that one can think of. None was ever given to me, only that there were going to be many changes, and that there was nothing personal or professional. That was said to me, it was written to me, and our parting was most amicable. Whatever reasons they may otherwise have had, if they had any, and chose to keep to themselves, obviously I could not answer, since they did keep it to themselves, if such was the case. I could speculate, but what's the point of speculating when, well, I went to law school, and they always said, don't ever try to reach a conclusion until you have all the facts. I don't have all the facts, apparently, but of those that I do have in my possession, I can only say that they simply chose to change an image after a great many years, whether it was the ball club, whether it was the new ownership, whether it was the sponsors, whether it was the advertising agency, which no longer is the advertising agency, I may add. You know, there were a great many changes that took place. A lot of them were not publicized, that one can ask the same question about. Why did they change? There's a man that was groomed for a top job with the organization, a fellow from the Nutmeg State, and he's no longer with the organization. But not too much publicity has been given to that. And he was quite a popular man in the organization and quite a friend of the owners. So, I don't know. In fact, I had one of the co-owners ask me in San Francisco early last November, when I was Toastmaster Joe DiMaggio's 50th anniversary celebration, what happened. So that's about the best way I can answer it.
And I guess you're even asking that on the moon. I'm sure you saw that cartoon in the Daily News of the satellite reaching the moon, and the moon figure asking what happened to Mel Allen.
Yes, I saw that. Yes.
The Fan, WFAN, New York.
Sports Radio 66. The Fan, WFAN, Mike and the Mad.
Curt Gowdy, we hope momentarily here sometime today. Before 6.
It's already 10:36 in Paris.
Bob has promised that we will get Curt up, so we should get Gowdy on here momentarily from Paris.
We will try.
718-937-6666. What line, Mike?
4.
You
Steve.
got it. Stephen Bethpage, Long Island. Hello, Stevie.
Yeah, hello, Dog. Listen, I got to tell you, I can't believe nobody got this yet. Make the 3-ring sign and ask the man for Valentine. And then they show the 3 rings one at a time. They put the first ring up, and that was purity.
And then
Second one was body.
Body.
And the next one was flavor.
Flavor. That's it. I got 2 out of 3. Gelt just asked me. I said purity, richness, and flavor.
No, the important thing about that, it was Mel Allen saying it. Unlike the singing commercials, and Mel Allen said it in a way. I mean, I'm 50 now. I was just a kid, and I didn't even know what beer was, but I wanted it just to hear Mel Allen. I mean, he was just unbelievable.
Yeah, you know what? Boy, I tell you, Valentine and Mel, I'll tell you, what a combination.
That was a Valentine blast.
Yep, it's amazing how they use the sponsorship. They incorporated it very nicely with their play-by-play.
Big time.
Don in Connecticut, Mike. Don, what's up?
Hi, Chris, and hi, Mike.
Hello, Don.
I'm just going through, I've got a 57 and a 61 Yankee yearbook.
Okay.
And in the 57, which is great on Mickey's stuff with everything he did in 56.
56 coming off the great year.
Yeah, but there's only three ads in a whole 56 yearbook, or 57 yearbook.
Valentine's 1.
Valentine's 1.
I bet you Camel is 2.
No.
It'll be a cigarette.
No.
No?
Valentine's Scotch.
Right.
And Coke.
That's it?
That's it.
Wow, I thought it would be... In 61, was there one in there about with cigarettes?
No.
Oh, okay.
In 61, there was... I marked them here. There was Valentine beer,
Right.
the Valentine Scotch,
Right.
and Coke.
That's it.
That was it.
So 3 sponsors the whole year. How about that?
But in 57, the Valentine one, it caught me. That's why I called. They had the 3 rings
Right.
with the 3 announcers. Mel, Phil, and Red Barber.
They had the 3 pictures of the 3 announcers?
Yeah, in rings.
In the rings.
Oh, wow.
Interconnecting. And I just noticed it while I was waiting here.
I wonder if they did something with the 3 rings and Mantle winning the Triple Crown.
No. But the headline is new 3-ring team. with the 3 announcers.
Oh, yeah.
So that must have been the first year that Phil
57.
did a
Was
full
full-time.
scale of games.
Yeah, it was. The Scooter was released on Old Timers Day, 56.
Yeah, but it also
It
says...
was 55, 56.
No, 56 Old Timers Day.
But it's
So
a,
that means he probably did some games
Right.
and then.
it's a three-ring team brings it all your way, courtesy of Valentine Beer.
Who's on the cover of the 57 yearbook? Mantle?
Has to be Mantle.
Unfortunately, I don't have the cover on that one.
Who's on the cover of the 61 yearbook?
There is no picture. There's just a picture of the stadium.
Gotcha. Mink knows
That's
this.
exactly right.
Mink knows this because Mink collects yearbooks.
Does he
Do you
want-
have all the how many Yankees you
couple of
got?
I missed 5 Yankee yearbooks. I have every one. The first one was in 1950, which has all the pennants
Right.
on it and a Philco ad on the back page.
And what ones do you not have? Just say them on the air because you might find someone who send one to
exactly
you.
right.
You should. What don't you have?
54, 55, 56, 57, and 59.
Well, this guy just had 57. Maybe you two can do a
No,
little
he doesn't have the
business.
cover, though.
Oh, he doesn't have the cover. You
Wait,
only
so
got
you
the
don't-
first one.
Well, how'd you get the first 3 and not 54?
I don't. I picked them up when I was a kid.
And you have all the 60s, all the 70s, all the 80s,
80s and
90s. Is there one that's a better yearbook? Did the yearbook get worse or better as
No,
the years went on?
the early ones were the best,
They
and
were?
I thought the best one was 1950.
I'm surprised the Yankees didn't do a yearbook before 50 with all the great history that they had.
No, 50 was the first.
The Yankees the only ones you collect?
No, I've quite a few.
You have all the Mets?
Every single one.
Including 62.
Including
Who's on the
62.
cover of 62? Casey?
No, it's just a little baby Met with big diaper.
Gotcha. Wow. And how many, is 50 the first year they started yearbooks, or do you know that top?
No,
yet?
there were yearbooks in the 40s. I have some Brooklyn Dodgers and some New York Giant yearbooks.
Boy, I didn't know that Minko had that
Yeah,
kind of stuff.
he's a big collector, Minko.
1952 New York Giants on the cover. There's a picture of a fan or whatever, and Leo DeRocher, and it says, "Tell it to me again, Leo."
Many times through the years, dog, Final Fours, Super Bowls, whatever, Mink has said to me, bring me back a yearbook.
Oh, sure.
I've brought him back a yearbook from a lot of different places.
I didn't
Because I
realize
don't
that.
collect anything, so I always used to bring them back to Mink.
Oh, yeah. Scorecards, yearbooks from the Knicks
Yep.
back in the championship days.
31 games for Rizzuto in 56. So 57 was his
So
first
maybe
year.
it wasn't all time. Maybe it was earlier than, maybe it was later than that.
But I played 31 games. Maybe he played the whole year or something, but played 31 games.
In 56.
In 56.
Yeah, he was released. I thought it was Old Timers Day. Maybe it was before that.
Here's Hank in Wandsworth, Long Island. Hank, how are you?
Very good, fellas.
What's up, Hank?
I just turned 76,
Wow.
so I'm a little bit knowledgeable about Mel Allen.
Okay.
You're a big-time Yankee fan, Hank?
Vic since 1926.
Wow.
How's that sound?
Can't do it. You remember the 26 World Series?
I remember the 27 World Series.
27. You do remember that?
I was 7 years old then.
You ever see Ruth play in person?
Many times.
You did.
Number one hitter ever.
You have a good feel of his. I mean, you have a good memory of his game.
Well, the thing I remember most about him, when he hit the ball, it went a mile high. Everybody oohed and ahed every time he hit that rocket, man. It was beautiful. So let me get back to Mel Allen.
Go ahead.
In the vernacular of the Yiddish people, this guy was a mensch. You know what that means?
Yep.
Sure do.
Okay. Do you know that he was a disc jockey also, besides being a broadcaster?
We know he's ready. We looked at
And a
his resume.
lawyer.
And everything.
Well, yeah. But he graduated from law school.
Yep. Passed the bar, too.
But he was a disc jockey for the Crosley radio station. I think it was 10 at the time. Now it's called Wind. And he did that because he had to supplement his income. He hated that job with a passion, but he did it so well, I thought he was as good a disc jockey as anybody on the air.
What years were those, Hank?
This was 1948, 49.
Oh, this is after he had come back from the war and
came
was
back
doing
from the-
Yankee games and Giant games.
That's right. His favorite saying was "Good deal, McNeil," which is an old Army saying.
So in other words, he did the Yankees and the Giants all their home games, right?
No, I don't remember the Giants.
He did the Giants.
Did
Didn't he
the
do the
Giants
Giants, Mike, too? I think he did.
Sometime, but not. I don't know how long.
Maybe he didn't do it after the war.
Yeah.
All right.
So I just want you to know that this guy was the greatest man, one of the most greatest people I ever met. In fact, I met him because I was looking for a job, and I called him at the Crosley station. And he said, "Sure, Hank, come on up, see me this time, and we'll have a talk." Do you believe he wants to call the Stevens brothers, the food people, to get me a job at the Yankee Stadium. Just met the guy once for about 10 minutes.
Wow.
That's the kind of guy he was.
So you were a young kid, go up there as well. You weren't that young. You probably were early 20s, right?
I was 28 at the time. I just come out of the Army and just looking, nothing serious at the time.
Right.
But this guy was so accommodating. He was so beautiful. One of the greatest people I ever met.
What's your thoughts about Red Barber joining that Yankee booth in '54?
Well, he was a Dodger man, and we hated when I lived in Brooklyn and hating the Dodgers, so I was like a lone wolf. And I by the time he got to Yankee Stadium, I was used to him, and it was a good thing.
Okay.
But originally, I couldn't stand the guy because he had a rebel accent, I was a Brooklyn kid, and I didn't understand what he was talking about half the time. But when I get to learn his vernacular, he came across very well.
Well, thanks for the call, Hank.
Thanks, Hank.
Okay, fellas.
Take care.
Get back, keep on listening.
Yeah, there's some good stuff.
Very good. My boy, the callers here in these sort of scenarios really do a good job.
They're great.
John in Jersey.
Yeah, hi.
Hello, John.
Mel Allen. I used to listen to Mel Allen with my father in the early 50s.
Right.
I'm 62 years old, and he was kind of the one who got me started on Ballantine beer. And in those days, I thought Ballantine was a pretty good brew. But I think in the early 60s, I had heard that they had changed from a brewmaster to a chemist. And that was probably the reason that their quality went down.
What year was that?
It was sometime in the early 60s. But I started drinking it legally in 1956, but actually I had a few before then. So. But my father used to sit out every Sunday. It was a ritual to listen to Mel Allen and the Yankees play.
Wow.
And I remember him so well. I don't remember any of the colorful stories about him, but I remember sitting with my dad and really enjoying the game.
No, that's it, Mike. I'll tell you, there are some heavyweights in the broadcasting field back then. Whether it's Barber, Bob Prince, By Sam, Mel Allen, Curt Gowdy. I mean, it's amazing the sort of group that you can discuss. And Jack Buck, Harry Carey.
And, Dog, it's also the hold that baseball had on the whole population.
Sure did.
No one talks about sitting around listening to a football game or basketball or hockey. Now those other sports, which there's the great overlap, and also they have their own great stars, and they have their own tremendous popularity, and they've made tremendous inroads. The kids today are not going to say that they listened to a Mel Allen when they were 8 years old, or they listened to whoever you want to say, whatever guy who's working right now, because it's just not the same anymore.
Now let's go to the guy that Mel hired to bring from Wyoming to New York back in the late 40s. He's Curt Gowdy, who's in Paris, who gives us a few minutes this afternoon. Curt, we really appreciate it. Christopher Russo and Mike Francesa on WFAN in New York. How you doing today?
I'm fine. I'm very, very sorry to hear about Mel, though. One of the biggest breaks of my life was coming to New York and being hired by the Yankees and Mel. And we're going to, on the 24th, which is, 6 days from now, my wife and I are going to celebrate our 47th wedding anniversary.
Wow.
46th, and Mel was the best man at our wedding.
Was he really?
Kidding,
Yeah.
Curt.
That's and how did he find you, Curt?
Well, I was in Oklahoma City. I left Wyoming to go down. I was offered a job to go down and broadcast the University of Oklahoma football games, and I had great college sports. Oklahoma won 31 games in a row while I was there. Oklahoma, A&M, now Oklahoma State, won the national basketball title. And I was doing the Texas League baseball games for $10 a game.
Wow.
And a friend of Mel's named Jack Slocum came through. He was representing Wheaties, signing the minor league players to endorsements for $100 or something. And was in Oklahoma City and heard me broadcasting, and he went back and told Mel about me. And then in 1948, the fall of 48, I got a telegram or a letter from George Weiss saying that Russ Hodges had left the Yankees to go with the Giants, and there was a position open, and would I be interested in applying? If so, send him some information on me and a sample of my work. Now, we didn't have tape in those days. They had those big platters, those 33 1/3 platters,
Sure.
where they cut grooves. So I sent him a platter of a Texas League All-Star game and a bio on myself, and expecting never to hear again. And then in December, I got a wire from George Weiss asking me to come to New York, that they narrowed it down to 3. I think they sent about 400 letters out. So I went to New York, got off the train, went up to the Yankee office, and Mel was there waiting for me, and he took me to lunch over at El Shack's, and he said, Curt, you're my selection for the job. And they usually have backed me on everything I wanted, but, you know, I don't know what will be the reaction, but I'd like you to work with me. What do you feel about it? I said, now it'd be a great honor. I mean, I could hardly believe it. I listened to him, he and Red Barber on the World Series and everything. So we went back after lunch to the New York Yankees office, and Topping and George Weiss called me in, and I sat down there, and here are 2 giants, and they asked me if I'd be interested in the Yankee job, and I said, gosh, yes. And they said, well, Mel, you're Mel's choice, and we're going to back him up, and you're our choice, too. What kind of money do you want? Well, I said, I don't think I'm in any bargaining position. I'll take whatever you want to give me. So they made me a 3-year deal, and wasn't big money or anything. And I went out, and, man, I was really happy.
Wow.
So that spring training, I went to with the Yankees at St. Petersburg, and my mouth was a foot open. There was Joe DiMaggio and Tommy Henrique and Russo and everybody there, all the names I'd heard about and read about. And I was scared to death for the first couple of months in New York. It wasn't very good. And luckily I was with a master baseball broadcaster. I really learned a lot. It was a great foundation for me for the future. And I was there for 2 years. And then the Red Sox offered me their head job in Boston.
Well, that's a tremendous, unbelievable. Boy, so you worked the games with Mel. Now, you had done mostly football, really? I mean, your background...
I did football, I did basketball. I did 152 Texas League games a year. But basketball was really my best sport then football. I think baseball would rank last. But I guess I was good enough to get a job with the Yankees. But I found out that I was lacking a lot of things in broadcasting baseball compared to Mel Allen. He was a master of detail. He was great in weaving the commercials into a game and making them sound not like commercials, but just sort of a continuation of the ball game. And I learned a lot about doing commercials with him. And I was very lucky getting to work with him for 2 years.